Hey stamping friends, it's Sherry Parker coming to you live on Wednesday, June 4th. Tomorrow's Bill's birthday, my husband, so I should remember the date, but sometimes I forget. Thank you for joining me tonight, whether it's live or on replay. I do appreciate it. I've got a really cute card to share with you tonight, and I think you're gonna really like it. First, I did want to mention the sweet sale that is going on right now from Stampin' Up. It's a great deal. It's buy one, get one at half off. So that applies to pretty much every suite online and in the catalog. And if you go to my website at sherrythomas.stampinup.net and you search for suites, or there's a little icon you can click on for the suite sale, it really will itemize the different suites for you so you can take a look. But one thing I want to point out is that in addition to the whole suite being on sale, there are also the different parts and pieces of the suites are on sale too. So they qualify for that, but just remember that it's always the lowest priced item that you get the half price on. So it really pay attention to what you're ordering, because if any small item that you're ordering is from a suite, that will be the one that's automatically deducted at 50% off. And you want to make sure you maximize your discount. So if you have any questions on that, just let me know. I'll be happy to go into more detail. And there is information on the website as well. So great time to take advantage of some savings. And then also I have a couple classes going on right now. They're product-based classes, and what you do is you order the product, and then I provide a tutorial, PDF tutorial, as well as additional supplies for you to make 5 cards. I've got 2 of them going on right now. The beautiful gallery suite, I covered that one last week when I made some cards, and then also the sunrise sailing product class. So I'm going to be using that particular bundle tonight, so we'll go into more detail. I'll flip my camera over and tell you a little bit more about it. Okay, so the sunrise sailing suite. It's hard to say that, or sorry, it's actually a bundle, not a suite. So it comes with a stamp set, die cuts, and this hybrid embossing folder. It's a really great bundle, and I did show some cards with this particular bundle a few weeks ago, but I have a fun card to make this evening that's different from what we did last time. So I wanted to just highlight that I am having this class. So the way it works is you order 4 items. So the bundle, the Country Woods Designer Series paper, Secret Sea ink pad, or your choice of the Cloud Cover Pool Party 2-tone cardstock. And if you already have some of these items or you want to substitute them out, you can do that as long as your total is $81.75 or more. So again, if you have any questions on this, let me know. But the 5 cards that you'll make look like this. So we've got this one with the 2 small sailboats. We have this one here, which is a very simple kind of monochromatic card. This one here, this should look familiar. I did make this on a Facebook Live. We used the blending brushes to create a pretty sunset. This one here, I really like this, how this turned out. This is using that Country Woods Designer Series paper and kind of a block pattern in the back. Really cute. And then this one here, where you're sanding down the 2-tone cardstock to get this pretty white look, and then it's layered on some of that Country Woods Designer Series paper. So those are the 5 cards. Would love it if you participated. Just shoot me a message or an email that you intend on participating in this bundle. Order the items or equivalent, and then I will get all the other parts and pieces to you, as well as the tutorial. All right, we're gonna get started. So one thing I wanted to mention is that really inspiration can come from anywhere. So my husband and I went to the Kenny Chesney concert in Vegas at the Sphere about a week or 2 ago, and this picture was taken on during one of the songs. You can see the stage right here, so it's really little. If you haven't been to the Sphere, it's essentially like an Omnimax theater, more or less, and it's a very immersive type of event. So every song, at least for Kenny Chesney, every song had a theme, and this particular one was When the Sun Goes Down, which is one of his fun songs. And this was all animated. It was really cool. But I really got inspired by this, and I thought that would make a really cool card. So what did I do? Well, I came home, and I'm like, I'm going to make a card out of that. So I'm going to be using a technique that is not new. It's tearing your cardstock You've, I'm sure, done this or seen this before. So again, nothing new, but I wanted to show how you can make some really pretty scenery using just your cardstock and tearing it. So this is the card we're gonna make tonight. And then here's another card I made using, I tore a few different pieces of cardstock and created mountains and a lake and put the sailboats from the sunrise sailing on the lake there. And then you've probably done this before or seen it, where you just tear along a white piece and it creates a snowbank. And a very simple yet elegant touch to a card. So just another way of creating a pretty scene. You can see that there's really no stamping on these except a little bit on the lake and the ocean. But again, really cute cards, I think. So we'll get started with this one right here. That's our inspiration behind it. And just needs, it's a great way also to use up your scraps too. So the base of the card will be the basic white. So it's 8.5 by 5.5. Got a little smudge on there, but we'll cover it up so no one will ever see that. So I just folded it in half there, and then I've got a 1/4 sheet of white. So this is 4 1/4 by 5.5. And we're gonna cover this first and then we'll cut it down, so if that makes sense. So I got some scraps out of my scrap bin. I've got a bunch of different colors here that I thought might make a nice sunset. So we'll just go ahead and kind of start tearing these and you'll get the idea. The water, I used the dies. So if you remember from this die cut set, there's a couple of these little oceany wave looking dies. So I cut 2 of those and that will be the base of the card. And then we'll go ahead and we'll tear off strips to use for the rest of the sunset. So this is Calypso Coral. We've got Pretty in Pink. And so no real rhyme or reason here, just basically just tearing off pieces. And these are scraps. So keep your scraps and just tear off. These all measure, they're all the same width, so they're 5 1/4. But you wouldn't necessarily have to do that. Here's Pool Party. And then the last color is Balmy Blue. So, all right. So I've torn off a bunch of these. I think I got enough for my sunset there. So to make the water, what I'm gonna do is take the pieces that I pre-cut. You can see this one here is basically that. So we'll cover that up. No one will ever see that. And I'll take the ocean stamp, or the water stamp, and I'm stamping it with the Azure Afternoon ink, just randomly there to look like water. And we'll do both of these pieces here. And then one other little touch you can do is you can take a sponge dauber with the Azure Afternoon and just go along the edges there. It'll give it a little bit of depth. So I'll do that to both of these pieces here. Okay, so now the fun part to create this look, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna start at the bottom. And I'm gonna go ahead and adhere this piece to the bottom. I'm gonna use glue, my green glue here. And we'll put glue on the back of all these pieces and we'll just start stacking them. So there is, oops, my first Azure Afternoon piece. And don't worry about any of the white pieces because we're gonna be trimming those off. Then the next one, I'll just put a little strip of glue. And as we go along, put a little strip of glue, but then you can go back later and add some more if you want. So there's another wave piece. And then we'll just start building our sunset. So I've got my Calypso Coral. Start with that one, put that, tuck that behind my waves. That'll be the first one. Touching the water, then Pretty in Pink. You hear my dog barking. There's people outside mowing and everything, but we're just gonna continue layering. This is Lemon Lolly. Tuck that one behind too. And as always, if you comment on or share my videos, I draw at the end and for last week's project. So we'll be drawing at the very end of this for the card that we did last week. So that's Daffodil Delight. Next up is the pool party. So you see how I'm just tucking behind here? So there's no real method to the madness, you know, and it's not lining up, and that's all right, because we will take care of that. And then last, we'll put this piece up here. Now this piece we're gonna be squaring off anyway, so probably didn't even need to tear that one. Okay, so you've got the base of the card. And then if you want to go back, you can add a little bit of glue just to kind of tack things down a little bit better. But you get the idea. So you've created your nice little backdrop there. Got little blobs of glue. So now we'll cut this down. We'll use our paper trimmer. And this one's pretty much flush with the bottom there. So I'll start here and I'm gonna start trimming. We'll trim off, let's see, a little bit there, just to square off our edges. And don't worry, because you're cutting through multiple layers, so if your paper trimmer doesn't go through all the layers, you can certainly fix that. And then we want this to be about 4 inches so that it will layer nicely on the card. And then the last cut we'll make, we want it to measure 5 1/4 on this, going this direction. And again, see, some of the pieces may not fall right off. You can just take a pair of scissors and trim that right off. And then you'll be good. So grab a little pair of scissors there. And you can see we've got our heart front. Then all we have to do now is just layer it on our white base like that. And that's so cute and easy. I'll use my Stampin' Seal. We'll place this on the top of our card. We'll cover up my smudge from earlier. All right. So we've got our background, and now we'll add some interest to this. So I did go ahead and I cut out a cloud, and I punched out a sun, just with a circle punch here. And for the sun, I'm going to add a little bit of the Calypso Coral ink, just to kind of give it a little bit of that sunset glow. So just kind of lightly sponge that. And we'll just put that right kind of there in the middle. So just like my picture when the sun goes down, my Kenny Chesney song. I don't know if there's any Kenny Chesney fans watching, but if you are a fan, you probably know that song. All right, so we'll let that kind of dry for a second. And while that is drying, we will put our sailboats together. So the way the dies come, there are two of the smaller boats like that, and they come with the frame and then the sails. The one I showed on my last Facebook Live, we used the larger boat, but we're gonna use the smaller one. So I cut these out with black because when you have a boat going by a sunset, typically the silhouette is kind of what you see. So I'm gonna put a little bit of glue on the base of my boats like that, and then the sail just fits right over top. So you can make it more than one color, which is what I did on my lake card. I made the sails white. But for this particular one, because it's almost like in the shadows, we'll make everything black. Okay, we'll let those dry for 1 second here. And then I did cut out a cloud. So I will use a Stampin' Dimensional to put that in my background. And then the fun part, we're gonna glue the small boat down because he's gonna be off in the distance. I didn't really let that dry very well. But typically I would probably let that sit for just a second. But I don't think you wanna sit here and watch glue dry, so we'll just go ahead and tack it on there like that. And then the larger one, we'll put some Stampin' Dimensionals behind it and pop that one out like it's in the foreground. And these mini dimensionals are great. Oops, that's the card we're gonna draw for in just a second. So peel off the little backs here, and then we'll place this on the front like that. So you could put a greeting on. I did one I actually tore the water, but I put a best wishes down there. So I don't know if you have a preference, but I kind of liked it without the words. So that is the card. And that's so fun. I just think it's a really fun way to create a scenery with the background. And then as I showed you at the beginning, I made this lake card using the same stamp set and just using the tearing technique. And then for this, for the clouds, I just used one of the clouds from the die cut and I used my sponge dauber and just lightly sponged around it. Super simple to do. And then that was the snow. That is a pretty basic way of doing the tearing. So what did you think? Do you like those? Again, if you comment on or share, you'll have a chance to win the cards that I make every week. And this one dropped onto the table here, but this is the card that I made last week. And from all the people who commented on and shared, we'll draw, and I have all those names in this cup right here. So we will go ahead and draw for last week's card winner. And next week we'll draw for our sunset card winner. So this winner happens to be Sandy Benson. So Sandy, I will mail you this card. Thank you for watching and for commenting on and sharing. I do appreciate you very much. So thank you very much. And remember that we're having this great sale and you'll want to take advantage of that if there's any products that you like in the suites, because some of the suites are about $100. So if you can get one at half price, that's a great thing. All right, have a great rest of your week. Thank you again for watching. Take care and we'll talk soon. Bye-bye.